The following news flash is brought to you by the Lone Star Lowdown, providing your daily bulletins for the commodities market. Today in history, news updates, and the inside scoop into the tides of the alternative. Markets for Wednesday, the 4th of May, 2016, are currently trading with gold at $1,274.01 an ounce, silver $17.26 an ounce, Texas crude $43.65 a barrel, and Bitcoin is currently at about 448 U.S. currency. Today in history, the year 1415, Protestant Christian reformers John Wycliffe and Jan Hus are condemned as heretics at the Council of Constance. This declaration led to the digging up and burning of Wycliffe's bones, who had died a few decades before, with his ashes being dumped into a river, and to the eventual execution of Jan Hus by burning at the stake. Yet another attempt at stamping out Protestantism via the Catholic Inquisition. Today in history. In recent news, White House spokesman Josh Earnest said concerning President Obama's first visit to Flint, Michigan, in response to the lead poisoning crisis that has been happening there, that, quote, this administration will continue to help mobilize the resources necessary that will allow Flint to recover and come back stronger than ever. This is not an exercise in finger-pointing. This is an exercise in asserting the responsibility that everybody has to make sure the people of Flint have an opportunity to get back on their feet. President Obama did declare a state of emergency in mid-January and ordered federal aid in addition to the state and local response. His first priority in Flint is to be updated on the federal response to the crisis, and is even meeting with some city residents. Israel's Justice Minister, Ayelet Shaked, in an interview with the Washington Post, stated today that, quote, in the past, we've seen European leaders speaking against the Jews. Now we see them speaking against Israel. It is the same anti-Semitism of blood libel, spreading lies, distorting reality, and brainwashing people into hating Israel and the Jews. She went as far as to say that the supporters of movements such as BDS, which call for putting economic and political pressure on Israel in order to achieve compliance with international law and gain rights for Palestinians, are, quote, using the same kind of anti-Semitism, but instead of saying they're against the Jews, they say that they're against Israel. In response to comments made in recent weeks by members of Britain's Labour Party claiming that Hitler was a Zionist and previous remarks by lawmakers that Israel's population should be transported out of the Middle East to America, Shaked stated that, quote, today it is not politically correct to be anti-Semitic, but being anti-Israeli is acceptable. People who have such anti-Semitic views should not be allowed to hold central leadership positions. This is Rick Brody with your lowdown for May 4th, 2016.
You gonna do? Yeah. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? When you were 8 and you had bad traits, you go to school and learn the golden rule. So why are you acting like a bloody fool? If you get hot, then you must get cool. Bad boys, what you gonna do? Or what you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? You chuck it on that one, you chuck it on this one, you chuck it on your mother and you chuck it on your father, you chuck it on your brother and you chuck it on your sister, you chuck it on that one and you chuck it on me. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys.
Okay, howdy, Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Root of Our Radio on the Cinco de Mayo, 2016, the 5th day of May, 2016, Mexican Independence Day, and the Friday before Mother's Day. For those of you who have forgot, and of course I never forget those kinds of things because I have lots of people to remind me. And as we get older, we get better at not forgetting things because we tend to write them down on our forehead backwards so when we look in the mirror, we can read it. Anyway, okay. Phone lines are open. There. And it looks like we already have a caller on the board. I'll go to that caller in a moment. Today I was going back over Law 101, or Legal 101. I'm developing an ebook. I haven't had time to work on it in a while, but I'm trying to get back to it because for those of you who listen all the time, you've probably heard the section on flow. I did a long section on flow, how to maintain mental flow, and addressed a lot of things that interrupt flow. And in structuring that and putting it together, I was very surprised because I was listening to someone recently talking about their issue, someone else that's a legal researcher, talking about a foreclosure issue. And they were making statements that I was having trouble getting past because he was making mental errors concerning the use of language, that after going through this section on flow that I couldn't get past. He said that the bank sold the note 3 times. And I said, wait a minute. What does sold the note mean? And it took him 5 minutes to sort out what he actually meant by that term, because he wasn't exactly sure what he meant by that term. He just had this general term that he would throw out there, and it sounded like it had some meaning. I took apart about 3 or 4 different terms that he was using, that he used all the time. And by the time we forcefully re-examined the meanings of the terms, the whole direction of the conversation changed. The whole way we were thinking about it, the way he was thinking about the mortgage issue had dramatically changed. So I started out today to go back through that. I've been going back over that to see if I could fill in some empty spaces, because I was surprised at how effective that was in altering the way that I use language. And as you listen to callers on the show, you'll find me doing this more and more. One thing primarily you'll find me doing is stopping people and asking them to define the terms or phrases that they're using, so that we avoid this, what I call complex equivalence, where someone has a meaning for a term, and that term has not necessarily been well defined, but the term is used often, like he sold the note. And we tend not to ask, what does that really mean? And I'll be doing that a lot more, asking for more specificity in the terms we use. Well, it looks like I've already had a caller drop off. Well, that's annoying. Okay, before Jeff drops off, we're going to go to Jeff in Mississippi. Hello, Mr. Jeff.
Hi, Randy. Thanks for having me on the show.
Glad to have you. What are you up to today?
Okay, well, I filed a Title 42 1983 suit. They responded with a 12B6, and I responded with an answer. They responded with an answer, but their answers were kind of silly. They didn't have any substance at all. In fact, to me, they were just all out lies. So I got impatient and filed a motion for sanctions. And that's already filed in. Right after I did that, a friend emailed me and said I should have filed a motion to strike. So I might have made a boo-boo. What do you think?
What were you going to strike?
I don't know. That's what he had commented on.
No, motion to strike is really pretty specific. If they filed a motion that contains what you consider to be falsehoods, then you can address the falsehoods. If someone has filed a document in the case and they have no power to file it, or if they filed a 12B6 and then they came back with a motion for default judgment, then you could, they're both kind of the same thing, so you could move to strike one of them. But it's inappropriate to strike a pleading that has arguments that you feel are has issues in it that are misargued or has falsehoods in it. To strike it would be inappropriate. Or to address the falsehoods and maybe sanctions, that's not necessarily, that would seem to me be a more appropriate method.
Good.
At least, a lot of people are going to say, well, you shouldn't file this thing. I know Jeff Sedgwick, he gets a little tense when we start going after the lawyers on the other side. Mm-hmm. But in the end, the judge is a human being. And he's also a lawyer, was a lawyer. And he's not necessarily going to like the fact that this pro se goes after the lawyer for sanction. But then on the other hand, you made it clear to the court that you feel the lawyer is outright lying and should be smacked for it.
Good.
Whether it agrees with you or not, it puts that in the mind of the court. It certainly addresses it for the other side. If the other side knows you're going to come straight away, prevaricate in their pleadings, then I don't see that as a bad thing. And filing a motion for sanctions and getting the motion for sanctions, I don't think that's a bad thing either.
Okay.
Because if it's likely to get the court to look more closely at the pleadings. And this is not from a purely legal perspective that I'm saying this. And that's because in the end, you won't win your case simply because you have the law and the facts on your side. You win the case if you have the politics on your side. And this is more on the order of thinking of the case from a political perspective.
Okay.
So, but I wouldn't say if you move to strike, you would have to have specific grounds to strike a pleading. And
like their argument, they argued that they had qualified immunity. They cited some kind of case law. I forgot what it was. We'll just say it was A versus B. Well, then I look up that case law, and the case law actually sides on my side. That, yes, if an officer is acting in accordance, then they do have immunity. But then once they run around and break the law and steal something, then they're up for criminal charges. So
that is one of the things that is most likely to get a lawyer sanctioned. Now you're just an ignorant old pro se. You can make a improper argument before the court, but lawyers, they're learned counsel. Not only can they not misargue a case, they must argue both sides. They're required to. It's in the Bar Association standards. So, in talking to lawyers, that's one thing they're afraid of, is misarguing a case, because you got a judge here. You misargue a case to this judge. You give him case law, and you misargue the case law. He sends that up. He agrees with you, and then the other side appeals, and that goes up to the appeals court, and the appeals court gets it. And they come back and say, what the heck is this garbage? What are you doing sending us trash like this? The judge is not going to be a happy camper. Mm-hmm. So the judge wants good law. So I would say misarguing a case, I think that's a great thing to ask for sanctions over.
Good. Okay, my second question is, I'm going through two courts. I still have not had an answer. I'm going through another court in Mississippi, but we're going to try to move it to my state in Arkansas so I don't have to communicate through the mail. We haven't done that yet, but I also filed a motion for sanction in my court here in Arkansas on a case that I'm doing here. So I basically got one case out of state, one case in state. The case in state, I went in, dropped the motion off. Do I need to turn around and set a time for a motion hearing, like Thursday at 2 o'clock? Or will they get to that, or how will that work?
Okay, here's how you normally do that. This is civil. So they expect both sides to be civil. And generally both sides are lawyers. So one lawyer just doesn't just go in and say, okay, I'm going to set it for this day, and that other lawyer is going to have to readjust his schedule and be here on this day at that time. They don't go for that. They get real excited about that. So they expect you you file the motion and then contact the other side, or you go to the court recorder, the coordinator, and ask, when's a time that's good for, give me a couple of days on which you can set this motion. And then you ask the other side, which day is best for you? If neither are, give me a suggestion. Hang on. Randy Kelton, Robert Stevens, Root of Our Radio. Our calling number, 512-646-1984. We'll be right back.
You are listening to the Logos Radio Network. LogosRadioNetwork.com.
Look what we got. We asked a question. Wonder what I don't have the answer. We asked a question. Look what we got. And they don't have the answer. So slip aside. Them a talk about issues passing on how they want we think take it easy. Them a talk we too politically and them getting mad and angry. Them not standing up and fight for the freedom and the free.
Okay, we are back. Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Rule of Law Radio, and we have Mr. Jeff Sedgwick on the bridge with us. And he has a question for Mr. Jeff. Let me see. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, I want to revisit one of your cases, and having to do with they answered, you answered, they answered, and you filed a motion for sanctions.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you contact the other side before you filed for your motion for sanctions?
Only to send him discovery.
So you didn't send him a copy of the motion for sanctions. You didn't have a discussion with correcting his bad behavior, right?
No.
Okay, so here's the truth about that. It's not likely that motion will survive because you violated the rules.
Uh-huh.
And which
You were
rule is
supposed to
that?
consult with the other side. They are supposed to have, I'm not sure if it's 14 days or 21 days, in which you amend their bad behavior before you file your motion for sanction. So what you did was improper.
Well, I filed an amended complaint after his 12B6, and in the amended complaint I stated that he had miscited case law, and then he came back with another 12B6 and did the same thing, and then I filed motion for sanctions.
Yes, but you see, you still have to consult with the other side first before a motion for sanctions. It's in the rules.
Which rule is that? Do you know?
Rules of civil procedure. Offhand, I do not know.
Okay.
A lot of times I know the rules, but this one I do not happen to remember.
Okay, so
But I do know that
I'll
it's
keep
there.
that in mind. You have to give the other side notice and opportunity.
That's right. To amend their bad behavior.
So just basically send them a demand letter?
Say again, please?
A demand letter? Send them a demand letter?
No. You send them your motion. You send them your motion for sanctions, and you tell them that they did this wrong, and as far as you're concerned, and you're giving them their just due opportunity to amend their bad behavior, and then you have to allow them to either file in a response to your motion for sanctions. Well, they'll file that in anyway. But if they have the opportunity, they can file an amended 12B6 motion or withdraw it.
Okay.
And
But if you don't give them that opportunity, if you don't give them that opportunity, chances are the court out of hand is going to dismiss your motion.
Okay. All right. Well,
he may cut you some slack because you're pro se, but on motions for sanctions, I don't think so.
Uh-huh.
I don't think he'll cut you any slack on that at all. Because one of the things you are supposed to do, even though you're pro se, you're supposed to read and learn the rules.
Read and learn the rules. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I missed that one.
Well, hey, it's happened to the best of us. How do you think I know about it?
Yeah. Well, he probably won't make the same mistake again, that's for sure.
I wouldn't count on that. First off, I wouldn't count on him not doing it again, and I wouldn't count on it being a mistake.
Okay, well, I hope I popped him in the nose enough to teach him a lesson.
Well, pardon me. That could be, but you also have to consider that some of these attorneys are heads made out of granite.
Okay.
That was what I was thinking. I'm amazed at how callous a lot of these lawyers are.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to think that, especially if they're dealing with a pro se, that they can pretty well do anything they want to, and the court will rule in their favor. And to a large degree,
you yourself personally have run across people that know what they know, and other people don't know squat, especially not pro ses.
And that seems to be a presumption that if you are a pro se, whatever you bring is trash, and they don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
If you're in Judge McBride's court, that's absolutely true. Yeah. He's a federal judge in Fort Worth.
Motions hearing and try to coordinate that with the court coordinator?
No. Yeah, setting a hearing. When you set a hearing, you want to get a couple of dates from the court coordinator. Dates that generally each court has certain days that they hold motion hearings. So you get a couple of dates, and then you contact the other side and ask which of these two dates would most suit them. If neither, then suggest a couple of dates that would be that would fit into their schedule. And then the two sides try to agree on a date that fits everybody's schedule. And then you go to the court and ask the court. You notice the court that you've conferred with opposing counsel and agreed on this date and asked them to set a hearing for this date. This is kind of the civil side of civil proceedings. And it goes very well with the rule on giving the other side notice and opportunity before you sting them. That's a very civil thing to do, and it fits very well with civil behavior.
Okay, my last question is, I still have this case in Mississippi, and we had decided that we wanted to move it to Arkansas, so I filed a motion to change venue. I have not heard back from them on that motion, and I really can't set a motion hearing because I'd have to drive 600 miles, and I don't want to do that.
Well, one of the things that I tend to do as a matter of course in federal cases is I always object to oral hearings and request that the court make all its decisions based on the pleadings, claiming that as a pro se I would be at a distinct disadvantage.
I have another question.
Yes.
Did you send a copy of that motion to transfer to Arkansas?
No.
Do you know what the rules in Arkansas are on transfers?
No.
Do you know what the rules are in Mississippi on transfers?
No, I just know what the federal rules are.
Okay.
But
in the federal rules, you have to notify the other court.
Okay.
Otherwise, it just sits there and languishes in the yellow, and the paper turns yellow.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Okay, so there's another part that I missed.
So take a lesson from this guy. Read the damn rules.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And don't forget the rules of evidence. They're a very fast read. There are very few of them. But read them. They're important.
Okay. So I'm going to notify my Arkansas court. What should I do with the Mississippi court? Send them another letter to try to
find out what the rules are. Okay? For transferring. Find out what the rules are in Arkansas for transferring. Because it could be that Mississippi court's sitting there waiting for some sort of acknowledgement from Arkansas. I don't know. But you need to find out what the rules say.
Wait a minute. I need a clarification. Are we talking about state to state, or are we talking about a federal case?
State to state.
From one district to another federal district.
Okay.
Oh.
That was what I wasn't sure of, because essentially
federal district, you can't notify both courts. Go read the rules.
You can't move a Mississippi case to Arkansas if they're state cases. That's just not going to happen. So it had to be federal. But
yeah, it's federal.
And get the local rules for each court, because you're likely to have some local issues as well.
All right. Well,
hang on. About to go to break. Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Radio. Our call-in number, 512-646-1984. We'll be right back.
Online video gaming is big business in China, but now Beijing is imposing limits on how long citizens can play. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, back to discuss gaming addiction and the Big Brother nanny state next.
Privacy is under attack. When you give up data about yourself, you'll never get it back again. And once your privacy is gone, you'll find your freedoms will start to vanish too. So protect your rights, say no to surveillance, and keep your information to yourself. Privacy, it's worth hanging on to. This message is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Start over with StartPage.
In China, more than 20 million citizens spend $500 million a year in smoky cyber cafes, lost in the virtual world of multiplayer role-playing. It's so popular that Beijing is trying to prevent addiction to online gaming by imposing limits on how long citizens can play. If they play more than 3 hours straight, their characters' in-game abilities go down. To get those abilities back, players must take a 5-hour break. I'm all for parents doing this because no kid should waste his life in virtual combat, but for the government to monitor and control people's use of their own computers is just wrong. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht for StartPage.com, the world's most private search engine.
Live Free Speech Radio, LogosRadioNetwork.com.
Mr. Officer, you're taking the law in your hand. Won't you follow the law of the land? I don't understand. job is to protect and to serve. Not beat and abuse. Happy, sir? When you gonna stop abuse your power? When you gonna stop abuse your power? When you gonna stop abuse your power? When you gonna stop abuse your power?
Okay, we are back. Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Real About Radio. And we lost, Jeff dropped off over the break. Now we're going to go to Samantha in Texas. Hello, Samantha.
Hi, Randy. Thank you for taking my call. Just wanted to say you guys are doing awesome and love what you're doing. My family and I have been listening in for at least a few years now. I wanted to tell you about a story that happened at the end of April. An anti-fluoridation activist named Regina Bergia organized a meetup at the Dallas City Council to voice our concerns. And the mayor, Dallas City Mayor Rawlings, told speakers not to play any audio or video. And so we did anyway. And we had a council member, Philip T. Kingston, say that one of our videos sounded like porn background music. So I wanted to get your thoughts about what do you think about them posting on social media while we're speaking? Like, how it's so disrespectful. I just wanted to know your thoughts. Hello? Hello?
Oh, somebody muted my mic. I had a train in the background, so I was muted out.
Oh.
The mayor instructed your people not to post any of what was going on social media?
No. The mayor told speakers that they were not allowed to play video or audio, and our event was to play video or audio regardless, because it's our 3 minutes. We should be able to spend it however we want. And he doesn't want to play video or audio because it's informative information.
Okay, did you play this in the council chambers in the meeting?
Yes.
What did he do as a result of your playing that?
Now, when I came into the chamber, he was gone. And so that was earlier in the day when others were speaking. So by the time I got in, he was gone. So we did play the video, and they didn't give us any hassle this time. But the councilman, Philip T. Kingston of the 14th District, he posted on Facebook and Twitter while I was speaking, while I was playing my video, and he quoted, "Fluoride prohibitionist videos have porn-sounding background music." And then he said, "Banhammer." I don't even know what that means.
Okay, so well, he can pretty well post anything he wants to. What I was going to question about the restriction by the mayor. I read the rules for city council meetings.
No.
Okay, you might get the rules.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yes, I have, and we can play video and audio.
And if that's the case, you don't care what the mayor wants or doesn't want.
Exactly.
He's a public servant. You're the master. If he has not published a rule, as far as I know, he cannot make up and enforce an arbitrary and capricious rule.
Yeah.
Besides, I like to violate minor little rules anyway. And as to the city council member making comments about that on social media, he can absolutely do that.
Yeah.
And you can comment back, but that goes to his First Amendment right, even if you don't like it. Unless he posts something that is untrue or inappropriate. But yeah, he can absolutely do that.
It's just, it's sad to see them just not care. They're all on their phones, on their computers, talking amongst themselves. They're just showing total disrespect. And I hate to see us have a label like that on while we're speaking.
Well, this is it's a problem that I have in court with judges and prosecutors being incredibly disrespectful. I have gotten better at dealing with that, and what's helped me to get better is thinking of myself as the master of my servants. So if I have a judge raise his voice to me now, I become very indignant. And I remind the court that it is the duty of the court to determine the facts in accordance with the rules of evidence, apply the law as comes in with the facts in the case. If he has some other agenda, some personal passion that he's brought to the court, he needs to take that home with him or get down off the bench. And you might so instruct the city council members that they are public servants. They are not the masters of the servants, and might conduct themselves in a civil and professional manner. You can dress them down just like they can dress you down.
Oh, yeah, and I'm sure we will, because we're having another meetup on June 8th. And if people go to the Facebook Fluoride Action North Texas, they can sign up. But last time we had 18 speakers and played 9 videos. So we're getting the word out. We're educating people. Hopefully we can get them to stop adding fluoride to the water.
Okay, there is a pretty large group. Are you familiar with Dr. Catherine Albrecht?
Yes.
She's on GSN. You might look up Dr. Catherine Albrecht. She's absolutely one of my favorite human beings on earth. And she does a lot of work in this area. And I think it was San Marcos that got the fluoride out of the water completely.
Oh, wow.
So you might talk to her. She can get you connected with some folks, or send me an email addressed to Catherine Albrecht, and I will forward it to her.
Okay, sounds good.
And she's one of the smartest people I know. And she proved that to me when I first met her. We were at Brave New Books, and she was doing a presentation. And someone introduced me to Catherine Albrecht, and she looked at me and said, "Why, Mr. Kelton, you're a good-looking man." And I said, "Miss Albrecht, you are really smart."
That's funny.
But,
I saw her at Brave New Books as well.
Catherine is absolutely a sweetheart.
Yeah.
And she is just very up on this issue. So send me an email, randy@ruleoflawradio.com, and I will get it to Catherine, and I'm sure she'll be back to you. And I'll also get her email and send it to you.
Okay, awesome. And I just wanted to say something real quick. This Saturday in downtown Fort Worth, an activist named Bob Smiley is having a booth out at the Global Marijuana March in support of Fully Informed Jury Association. We'll be out there handing out information about your rights as a juror and trying to educate people about nullification. So,
okay, his name was Bob. What was the last name?
Bob Smiley.
Smiley?
Smiley?
I was just wondering, does he make faces?
No.
That was one of those, that was timed humor. He's probably never heard that joke before. Okay, and he is at downtown Fort Worth. Where at in downtown Fort Worth?
I believe it's 5th Street, but they can go on VITA's Facebook page and they can sign up for the event.
Okay, hang on. We're about to go to break. We'll get this on the other side. Randy Kelton, Move by Radio.
Easy.
Not wage any battle, would your purpose have be done? Such a sentimental soldier, a warrior of love, scuffle and to keep the peace. All it's taking is a misunderstanding. If somebody calls the police, watching the sparks fly. Watching the sparks fly. Watching the sparks fly.
Okay, we are back. Randy Kelton, Rule of Law Radio, and we're talking to Samantha in Texas. Okay, downtown Fort Worth is Bob Smiley on information on an informed jury. I take it he will be around the old courthouse. Is he not in one fixed location?
Oh, I apologize. It's at Hyde Park at 101 West 9th Street.
101 West 9th Street. At what time?
At 11, and we'll be there probably until 5.
11 to 5.
But,
okay. Anyone in Dallas-Fort Worth area, if you're interested in informed jury, that might be a good place to go and make some connections. Okay, go ahead. I kind of interrupted you there.
Oh, I was just saying the march starts around 3, and we just ask people if they can make signs about nullification and jury rights. So,
okay, wonderful.
You can come out. Yeah.
Okay, that's 101 West 9th Street, Bob Smiley. What was the date again? I don't have it written down.
It's this Saturday.
Saturday. That will be 7th. Saturday, the 7th of May.
Yeah. I recently started getting involved in this because my husband is serving on the grand jury right now, and he's been talking to me about the procedures, and it's just so sad that especially the grand jury is just being controlled by the prosecution.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You know someone serving on the grand jury?
My husband.
Oh, my goodness. I am preparing criminal charges against federal Judge McBride. Official oppression. I've been setting this up for quite a while. How long will it be before your husband is off the grand jury?
I believe at the end of June. So.
June, okay. I would very much like to talk to him once he gets off the grand jury about grand jury procedures. Grand jury is what I do. I just filed first-degree felony aggravated assault charges against my district judge here in Wise County with the grand jury. I also filed criminal charges against the Texas Ranger. One of the problems we have in filing complaints against public officials, I interviewed Sharon Wilson, the current district attorney for Tarrant County, on the show before she was elected. And she's very well aware that I'm pretty knowledgeable in this area. So I gave her the law concerning grand juries and public officials. And she pretty well back out of the way so that now in Tarrant County, you can go directly to the grand jury's office and give complaints to the bailiff. So I gave complaints to the bailiff against 3 or 4 guards at the county courthouse who the third time I called 911 on them, dragged me out of the courthouse, smashed my face in the concrete.
Oh, my goodness.
I filed complaints with the grand jury because I tried to file with the sheriff, and the sheriff made it clear that if you file a complaint against a public official, against a sheriff's deputy, the sheriff department will do nothing. They won't touch it. So I filed with the grand jury. I gave it to the bailiff with the procedure that I use as I go there, and I tell them my name is Randall Kelton, instructor foreman, that I have business with the grand jury. And they will generally say to me, I tell them the nature of the business, and I say, yes, you may, give them these, and I give them a set of complaints. I don't believe they made it to the grand jury because normally I will get a letter from the foreman telling me what they've done. I didn't get a letter from them. There was no true bill in the minutes of the court. Once a grand jury has voted, the foreman with a quorum of the grand jury present is required to go before the court or the county or the district clerk and read the fact of indictment to the clerk or the court, and the clerk shall make notes in the minutes of the court. So I went to look at the minutes of the grand jury, and there was no mention of these 4 officers. The law only requires they give notice of a true bill, not notice of a no bill. So if they no bill, that's kind of falling through the cracks, and that wouldn't be a problem if I had a way to know for certain that the district attorney did not intercept these complaints and secret them from the grand jury, because that seems to be what they're actually doing. And I'm working on that.
He's actually the foreman.
Ooh. Then, in that case, I will bring some complaints down that he might find very interesting. I have a complaint against a foreman of the grand jury.
Mm-hmm.
I filed criminal charges against Craig Watkins in Tarrant County. I gave them to the bailiff, and the bailiff actually gave these to the grand jury. And the reason I took it to Tarrant County is because I took them to Dallas County. It started with a JP. I filed against one JP with another JP. The second JP sent the complaints back to me saying I filed on this. I didn't, but that's what he said. So I went to the district attorney, the Dallas County district attorney, with complaints against this JP, and they promptly tossed us out of the building at constructed gunpoint. To the prosecutors, investigators threw us out of the building to prevent us from filing these complaints with the grand jury. So I took criminal complaints against the district attorney as responding superior to Tarrant County grand jury, and I got on the foreman of the grand jury stating that under 20.09 Code of Criminal Procedure, the grand jury shall investigate into all crimes subject to indictment that come to their knowledge by way of any member of the grand jury, the prosecuting attorney, or any credible person. And he insisted that he took my complaints very seriously. But he found no Tarrant County crimes subject to indictment. Is that a fact, Jack? Somebody gave that foreman advice, and it was faulty. The statute says all crimes subject to indictment. A grand jury, back up. A district judge impanels the grand jury. Restriction. A district judge is a statewide judge. But when we didn't have a lot of judges, the district judges used to ride a circuit. But now we got a bunch of judges, so they restricted each judge to a specific venue. There is no like restriction on a grand jury. A grand jury is a statewide grand jury. And they can hear any complaint, any complaint subject to indictment from the state of Texas. Someone instructed that grand jury that they could only hear complaints that occur in Tarrant County, and that was patently untrue. So my only way to get this is make a complaint against the foreman, and then the foreman will come back with good faith reliance on competent authority. And I certainly want to know who that competent authority was. I think it was the district judge that impaneled the grand jury, because I believe Sharon Wilson stood aside and said nothing. She stayed out of it altogether. So I suspect they had to go to the district judge to get advice, and the district judge hadn't been indoctrinated onto the fine points of the law and gave the foreman bad advice. And when I get the foreman to feed me the district judge, I'm going to land on that district judge with both feet. I will be suing the judge personally, because when they give legal advice, they're not a judge, they're a lawyer. And there is no immunity for that. I'm trying to get the grand jury opened up so there's no political interface between the public and the grand jury. Right now, prosecuting attorneys try to insulate the grand jury from complaints that the prosecutor doesn't want to prosecute.
Yeah.
That is patently wrong. The very reason the grand jury is in place is to keep the prosecuting attorney against to prosecute, which not to. Okay. Hang on, we'll pick this up on the other side. We're about to go to the top of the hour break, but I definitely want to keep in touch with you. I think this is the most important issue we have in front of us today. If we can get the grand jury open, it will change everything. These problems we're having, the vast majority will go away. Hang on, Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Root of Law Radio. We'll be right back.
Babylon, I'm born down the whole nation, but them operate the land wrong. I'm also a Republican and them a scratch man. Tell them I'm a libertarian. Them say we back to lose, but back to win. Come round. Justice and child of rule is how are we say? For a worse
Okay, we are back. Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Rule of Law Radio. And before we go back in, Samantha, I have a note from my call screener. He is in Dallas, and he wants to go to this meeting. Can you give the specifics on that meeting again?
Which one? The
Bob Smiley.
For the FIJA. Yeah, so Bob Smiley is going to have a booth at Hyde Park in Fort Worth at 11 a.m. He's going to get there a little bit early. You'll see us. It'll say Fully Informed Jury Association right on the booth. We're going to be at the booth handing out information.
Hold on. You said 11 p.m. Did you really mean 11 a.m.?
Sorry, 11 a.m.
Okay.
11 a.m. to the march ends at 4:20, but we'll probably be out there a little bit longer. So yeah, you'll see us. We'll have Fully Informed Jury on the booth, and some of us will be in the march also walking around. So,
okay, where he has the booth, does he have power? Because I meant want to come down and do some interviews.
I'm not sure if he'll have power. I could get back to you on that. The last events that we did not have power.
Okay, I'll look at that. If you're doing some more events that you want to get some coverage on, let me know beforehand, and if I'm able to, I can come down and set up, and we can pre-record some segments to present on the show.
Okay, that would be great. You can always go to the Facebook page, Fully Informed Jury Association. We'll be definitely posting on there if anybody wants to find more information or get in contact with Bob Smiley.
Okay, Fully Informed Jury Association Facebook page.
Yes.
Okay. I'm back to grand juries. Since your husband is the foreman of the grand jury, I'm treading very lightly here.
Yes.
I'm always very careful about putting someone in an untenable position. Mm-hmm. So I would never speak to your husband about this unless he wanted to talk to me. I've always steered clear of talking to grand jury members directly. But I've been researching rule of law, that's the name of the show, for 5 years now. I started out spending the night in jail for driving with the headlight out, and that seemed right. So once I got out of jail, I got out the penal code and code of criminal procedure, and I read them. And then I looked at the practice, and I thought, have I stepped through the looking glass? How could the practice be so dramatically different than the law? Samantha, do you know what the average conviction rate for all crimes across the board are in the state of Texas?
No.
Guess? Most people guess about 75, 80%. It's 99.6. It rounds up to 100.
That's insane.
This is the worst police state the world has ever seen, and nobody even realizes it.
Yeah.
The reason the conviction rate is so high is that every step is presently practiced in the criminal justice system in the state of Texas. Not wrong. It is very specifically against particular law. And it's not just against law. It's against law for a very specific reason. Prosecutors and judges, through a series of seemingly minor adjustments toward adjudicative expediency and administrative convenience, have so adulterated the procedure that it no longer even resembles what the code says. And all of this has been done to place a person accused of crime so that they have a rational alternative but to take a deal when it's offered. And I'm trying to fix this.
And that's also, too, why we need fully informed juries. We can end the drug wars. We can stop people from going into cages and stop bad prosecution.
That is, you are exactly right. But of all of the juries, the one that's most critical is the grand jury. Yeah. I walked into my district attorney's office. I'm in Weiss County, and Greg Lowry is my district attorney. And we're good friends, and I trust him. If ever there was a prosecuting attorney who followed law, this is one of them. I went to see him one day, and they sent me back to his office, and he's sitting with his head in his hand. And I said, Greg, what's the matter? Oh, those darn grand jurors, you never know what they're going to do. And I thought, there is a God. I get people coming on the show saying, oh, the prosecutor controls the grand jury. They do whatever he says. And I tell them, he does no such thing. Tell me, Samantha, do you believe that the prosecuting attorney could lead your husband around by the nose?
No, because he knows his rights. And
yes.
People that don't, they fall into it. And most of the people in the grand jury,
that is exactly why the grand jury is so important. It's people like your husband. The problem is, even if they think they've got a grand jury under control, they got 12 grand jury members. Good luck on controlling all of those. I looked at the minutes of the grand jury in Travis County. And every day when the grand jury gets done, they go in and read the minutes to the court. Every single set of minutes I looked at had at least one no bill. One of them had 6 of 12 were no billed. So this is not a rubber stamp grand jury. So when you're presented to a grand jury, you never know what they're going to do. About 5 years ago, I got all of the highest judges in Texas presented to a grand jury by Ron Earl, Tarrant County District Attorney at the time. Now, I thought it was my elegant oratory and all the pressure I had put on them. Turns out that had nothing to do with it. Ron Earl was a 25-year prosecuting attorney. He wasn't running for office again. He was Democrat. All 15 of these judges were Republicans. He used my complaint as political cannon fodder and tried to take out his political opponents with him. And I think that is a wonderful thing. They didn't get indicted, and that was good. But they had to sit for 3 months wondering if their career was going to end tomorrow.
Yeah.
The issue I complained about, that does not happen in Texas anymore. It's too long to go into. It's a real technical, piddling, minor complaint. But they looked at his career. I just filed first-degree felony aggravated assault charges against my district judge because he had a bailiff touch me.
Oh, wow.
Hey, you want to play hardball, Bubba? I'll introduce you to the deep end of the pool. Now, I gave these complaints to the grand jury, and then I went to Greg, and I said, Greg, I have made my best argument for indictment. That was my job. Now, I expect you to get your behind in there and make darn well sure he doesn't get indicted. It's not my purpose to end his career.
Yeah.
It's my purpose to alter his behavior. Now, he has to sit there all month until our grand jury meets once a month, until the grand jury meets again to find out if his career is going to end.
Yeah.
That will more than serve my purpose. Our founders who created the grand jury system were wise indeed.
Yeah.
And this is my primary focus. The grand jury is the most powerful check to the abuse of official capacity that we have in this country. And your husband is probably in the most powerful position that exists in the state of Texas at the moment.
I know.
For the most part. Go ahead.
And when he first came to the grand jury, they made him a rubber stamp, expecting him to use it so they can speed up the process. And he never used it. He took it home. They wanted him to keep it there. I said, take it home. Don't use it. And everybody on the grand jury is like, can we just indict them? We want to go home, blah, blah, blah. And it's sad. He's the only one. He gets singled out, and he's trying his best. He's doing a great job. A lot of people have been set free, so it's wonderful.
Well, I am going to set him up. He will get one of my complaints because I'll make sure every grand jury does. And it's not that I want anyone indicted. These jailers that drug me out of the courthouse and smashed my face into concrete, and not jailers, guards at the courthouse there at the metal detector. The third time I called 911 on them. I don't want them indicted.
Yeah.
But I do want them presented.
Yeah.
I do want them to have to stand and answer and wonder if the grand jury is going to end their career. That will end this nonsense.
Yes.
I will be in this next legislature lobbying for I quoted 20.09 that stated the duties of the grand jury. Well, in addition to 20.09, that will require the grand jury to sit at least once a month for the purpose of hearing complaints by private citizens. Now, grand juries used to do that in Texas when I first came here, but they said nobody ever showed up, so they quit doing it. And I'm saying, guys, that means it was working.
Yeah.
There was no need to show up. So,
yeah. It's amazing.
So I would very much like to talk to you sometime off the air, and I will be bringing some complaints. And if we actually have the grand jury that thinks and have a prosecutor, this will terrify these guys. And the main thing I'm going to want to find out, the only thing I would ask of your husband is, did he see the complaint? Because if he didn't, then I can handle the rest. Hang on. We have this straight. There's Austin. There's a phrase in Austin, keep Austin weird. Well, that was coined after a woman. Her name is Mary Krinick. Are you familiar with Mary Krinick?
Yes, I am.
She is on the line. We will bring her on as soon as we come back. Hang on, Miss Mary.
This is the Logos Radio Network.
Ain't gonna blind me. Don't bore me. Well, ain't gonna fool me with that.
Okay, we are back. Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Root of Law Radio. We're talking to Samantha in Texas, and we're bringing on the Austin Wild Woman, Miss Mary Krinick. Hello, Mary.
What's up, Dallas? Woo!
Okay, Mary, do you plan on being in Dallas on the 10th? Is it the 10th?
Yes.
What day is, okay, what day is the Bob Smiley again? 7th of May.
That's
coming Saturday.
Yes, in 2 days.
Oh, that's 2 days. That's this Saturday. Oh, okay. Then
Bob,
everybody, we don't have much time to prepare.
Get the electrical.
Oh, thank you for asking. Awesome.
Okay, I'll make it a point to be down there. And Samantha, I've tried to be careful since your husband's a foreman of the grand jury. I'm always real careful about compromising anyone, and I never ask favors. And that is it's not that I'm so terribly ethical, but if we're going to fix the system, we have to fix it without leverage.
Yes.
We have to be able to create our own leverage, and I've been doing that. I'm getting quite a leverage in Fort Worth. They're getting pretty leery of me, and because we've allowed them to make their own mistakes and fit them back. But it does. I am thrilled to hear that we have some thinkers on the grand jury.
Yes, definitely. You got to be real careful what you say. I know that it's hard because you want to tell them what's going on. But
yes, and I've tried to be careful with you not to ask you anything that would compromise you because of your association with him. So I'm trying to be real careful here. If we do this right, and I've been doing this a long time, and Mary and I just spoke on this issue last Sunday. I was in Austin. That the grand jury is the most powerful weapon the ordinary citizen has toward preventing official abuse. There is a case, Kennedy v. State, and in that case, the court ruled in order to avoid the obvious evils of the accumulation of power in any one office, for the purpose of filing a criminal accusation, a prosecuting attorney is not a credible person. And it goes on to speak about the zeal in prosecuting crime is not necessarily a guard against abuse or overexuberance. The legislature placed the grand jury in between the prosecutor and the courts for a very specific reason.
Perfect.
Not so much to hear complaints by private citizens. Against private citizens. but primarily to prevent the prosecutor from deciding who he wants to prosecute and who he doesn't. Now, he's gotten some of that back, albeit illegally. There's nothing that gives a prosecuting attorney any discretion at all. He's required, the Constitution actually requires misdemeanors and felonies all to go to a grand jury. And the grand jury sorts out who gets prosecuted and who doesn't. But they've passed laws that allow misdemeanors to be handled within a grand jury. And I'm not going to take that argument up at the moment. But for felonies, for infamous crimes, the legislature absolutely insisted that grand juries make that determination. And this keeps the system in check, especially 2.03. 2.01 says it shall be the primary duty of the prosecuting attorney not to secure conviction, but to ensure that justice is served. He shall not secret witnesses or evidence that will show the innocence of the accused or mitigate the guilt of the accused. And that's a paraphrase. Well, that's nice high-mid rhetoric, but it really doesn't tell him to do anything specifically. 202 tells prosecutors the county attorney will handle this stuff, the district attorney will handle this stuff. 2.03, the very first one, says that when a prosecuting attorney is made known in any manner that a public official has violated a law relating to his office, he shall reduce the complaint to information submitted to the grand jury. 0. They just got rid of the public integrity unit for the Tarrant County District Attorney's Office. That was illegal. District Attorney had no power to investigate crimes by public officials. That was the grand jury's business. And
yeah,
I filed against my district judge, but only so that I could file a complaint with the Texas Ranger. And because they removed the public integrity unit from the district attorney's office and moved it to the Texas Rangers. Problem. Prior to this time, a Texas Ranger could investigate a public official, but only with written permission of the Director of the Department of Public Safety. So the legislature moved the public integrity unit to the Texas Rangers and directed the department to develop protocols. Their protocol included requiring the ranger to ask permission to investigate an official from the district attorney. Say what? The district attorney is forbidden to intercede in any way. I consider that an act of criminal conspiracy to commit an official action, criminal violation, 3903 Penal Code. And I told this to the ranger. I was giving him these complaints, and he said, well, he's going to have to follow protocol. And I told him I understand that. But in order for me to get standing to raise this issue, I have to bring a controversy to the court. And the controversy I'm going to bring is official oppression and felony conspiracy to commit against you. And then that gives me standing to raise the issue. And I filed against him for not investigating into my accusation against Judge Fostel and presenting it. Well, now every ranger in Texas knows what I've done to this ranger. And this was a good ranger to do it because he was an excellent police officer. Very professional, very businesslike. I like this guy. So if I like him, everybody else is going to like him and consider him to be professional. And this gives him plausible deniability along with all the other rangers. They're going to go to the director and say, what? I follow your protocols and I get sent to the grand jury. My purpose is to give Texas Rangers free rein to do their job without any political oversight. That's what the legislature intended. The politicians are trying to get that control back, and we're trying to keep it from them. And my most powerful tool is that grand jury. Then you understand, Samantha, why I don't want him indicted.
Yes, I do.
So I'm looking forward to filing some. I'm not going to file the district against Judge McBride yet. Judge McBride is a federal judge. He's 89 years old, and he has no business on the bench. But I'm not going to put this one in front of your husband. I will do this one later. But right now, I want to sting the district attorney from Dallas County. Primarily what I want to establish is that I want to expand the authority of the grand jury so there's no question that the grand jury can hear any complaint felony from anywhere in the state. So that's my purpose here now. So I'll be filing this real soon.
That's great.
Okay, when I come back, Mary, I'd like to pick you up. Hang on, if you will, Samantha.
I will.
Okay.
Okay, this is Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Rule of Law Radio. Our call-in number, 512-646-1984. We'll be right back.
It took a very special brain to devise the theory of relativity, but was Albert Einstein born super smart? I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, and I'll be back with details on new discoveries into the famous physicist's brain in a moment.
Privacy is under attack. When you give up data about yourself, you'll never get it back again. And once your privacy is gone, you'll find your freedoms will start to vanish too. So protect your rights, say no to surveillance, and keep your information to yourself. Privacy, it's worth hanging on to. This message is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Start over with StartPage.
Albert Einstein had one of the greatest minds in history, but was he just born brainy, or did thinking about physics cause his brain to expand? Newly discovered photographs of Einstein's brain may hold the answer. It appears the great physicist did indeed have something special between his ears. Einstein's brain has folds rarely seen in other brains, plus an enlarged prefrontal cortex, where people imagine events and simulate their consequences. Researchers don't yet know how these differences affected Einstein's remarkable IQ, but one thing's for sure, smarts had little to do with size. Einstein's brain was average-sized, relatively speaking, that is. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht for StartPage.com, the world's most private search engine.
Actually be kidding about chemtrails.
You are listening to the Logos Radio Network. LogosRadioNetwork.com.
Yeah, who you want to chip? Who you take me for? Free Tolly? Who you want to chip? Me no free Tolly. You can't chip me. I'm saying. Don't let them chip you in the morning, chip you in the evening. Put a chip in your body. And then when you go computer ready, you can't hide me say from nobody. When me say, chip in your mom, chip in your daddy, chip in your grandpa and the grandme, chip in me, chip in your baby, chip in your family, whole family, chip in your dog and they kept around we, chip in the beef and you still go eat.
Okay, we are back. Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Rule of Our Radio, and we're talking to Samantha and Mary, both in Texas. I'm not going to talk about grand jury anymore. I kind of hijacked you, Samantha, because that is sort of my favorite subject. But I would like to talk about informed juries. Kind of tell us your position on informed juries. You know, I have opinions on that, and I'm trying not to put mine in. It's my opinion that Thomas Jefferson was right when he said that it is the place of the grand jury to rule on the facts and the law. He said that a jury is the ultimate check to the balance of law. If a jury refuses to enforce the law, the legislators will have to change it. So,
right.
Tell me about how you're going about doing jury, creating informed juries.
Well, first we want people to be educated about the Constitution and know their rights, but also about victimless crime. If there's no victim, there's no crime. Why are we sending people to prison when there's no victim? Basically, that's it.
Well, in the Texas Penal Code, it's in Chapter 1. It says that when a provision of this code is violated, the state is the injured party. So I know I hear this, who's the injured party? And that is in law. In your opinion, do we need to repeal that statute?
Yeah, exactly. And people need to get informed about what the state is doing, because it is really corrupt, and so that's another thing. So,
it's and Mary, what's your take on this?
On fully informed jury, I guess the state being a victim.
Wait, hold on, Mary. You're getting a lot of distortion. Can you move the mic down to your chin just below your mouth? Maybe that'll help.
Is that better?
No, we may have to try backing it away a bit. We may just have a bad connection.
How's this?
That's a little better. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, fully informed jury, I don't know what exactly.
Hold on, Mary. Will you hang up and call right back in?
All right.
Maybe we'll get a better connection. You're getting a tremendous amount of distortion.
Okay.
You know Deborah. She won't be happy if we got distortion. Yeah, just hang up and call right back in. I'll put you right back.
Hello?
I live in a small county north of Fort Worth, and I have never been called to a jury. Mary, you still there? Okay, she just didn't drop off. There she goes. Okay, she's talking. I'm looking at the call screen. So I've never been called to a jury, and I would love to be on a jury. My son has the same name as me, and he's been called several times. My wife has been called. They'll never call me. I suspect even if they called me, they wouldn't bring me on. And I don't understand why. I mean, I've filed about 100 criminal complaints against public officials. I don't know why they would be prejudiced against me, but yes, I would very much like to be on a jury. And it is difficult. My wife was on a jury, and it just broke her heart. It was the girl that was very badly injured in a wreck. And they had to rule against her. Mm-hmm. And it just broke her heart. She said she doesn't ever want to have to do that again. So being on a jury is difficult enough without prosecutors and judges lying to you. Okay, here we got Mary back.
Hi.
Okay, Mary, you're back.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, much better.
Okay, great. I had to change the headpiece. My knowledge is that Fully Informed Jury is a very helpful association. If the state is a victim, then I guess a corporation's a person. I'm not sure where they're going with that. And the state can claim to be a victim on a number of things real easy. So, like parallel governments all of a sudden make those groups terroristic, et cetera. It almost looks like the state has the hardest hold on victimhood because anything that looks like it's competitive government, they can claim as being offensive to them.
Yeah.
So what do we want to teach the jury?
Well, Samantha would need to answer that, or Bob Smiley. And Bob Smiley texted me, said he's going to see if he can get electrical outlet for you on Saturday. And he texted me that he wants people to go to his Facebook page, Bob, SMILIE.
Okay, tell you what, Mary, if you will text him back and ask him if he would like to come on the show tomorrow and be a guest on the show.
Yeah, that might be the best. What do you think, Samantha?
Yeah, he should definitely get on the show. Like, I'm still new to this, and I'm still learning myself about all this.
Yeah, and Samantha, I didn't mean to put you on the spot on the air.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, she wanted to talk about that for sure. A question about the Dallas fluoride-free movement. In general, if Dallas is not a home rule city like San Marcos and Austin, and by the way, Kathleen O'Connell formed Communities for Thriving Water and funded the petition process for the home rule changes in their charter in San Marcos. Catherine Albright has come to San Marcos and helped us with RFIDs, pet chips, putting chips in the pets. So we do have to give a shout out to Kathleen O'Connell in San Marcos and her friends.
Well, didn't Catherine Albright go to do a show from San Marcos in support of this?
It was for the chipping of pets, and she gave a very good rally.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I'm sorry.
Very well present to City Hall. She is a professional at that. And she did a lot of work in San Marcos for chipping of children, but it was like on their tag that they wore and things like that. Heather Fazio had worked with them, and we'd gone down there. So Catherine is primarily with the smartphones and tracking devices and the way they Google stores your cookies and all this stuff I don't understand. So Kathleen O'Connell is the one that supported the victory and charged it. She is a feng shui artist and very, very beautiful, loving, and brave woman, Kathleen O'Connell.
I'm wondering why we've never had her on the show.
You know, she is exhausted right now and has to focus back on work. When we come together to do work together, to show awareness, to support each other, that's what's going to help us do this hard stuff. And a lot of people, when they join and they take some leadership, they get pretty burnt out. So
I'm very well aware of that.
You have to focus back on work. And, there's a lot of ways to have events, to do lectures, to do books, and to do ways to do what we love and make money. They are out there, and we're going to start doing this thing.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Well, if she decides she wants to come on the show, I will certainly make room for her.
Thank you.
Okay. Samantha, is that about it? Do you have something else for us?
No, we will keep in touch with you, though. Thank you so much.
Okay, and we're about to go to break. As soon as I come back, I will plug your march there.
Easy.
Hello? Oh, man, in jail? You got busted? Oh, man, I'm broke, dude. Some things in this world I'll never understand. Some things I really...
Okay, we are back. Randy Carlton, Deborah Stevens, Rule of Law Radio, and we're talking to Mary in Texas. Mary, I kind of bushwhacked you there. I never let you get to the reason that you called in.
No, I was just going to talk about grand juries, so you answered everything. We're going to keep talking about grand juries, though. But you answered everything, and I thought you were the only cool person in Dallas, because I went up there to see you, and I heard Regina Umbrigia was doing that fluoride-free action thing at City Hall, Dallas, and I met all these cool people, really nice people, really smart people, really honest people. There's a lot of cool people.
This is Texas. There's cool people everywhere here.
Well, listen, I'll be talking to you for another 5 hours, but I don't know if you got some people on hold, and I know what that's like.
No, we don't have any more callers. So I went to Michael Badnarik's Return to Texas party.
That's right. Yeah.
Michael Badnarik is from Indiana, and he had to go home and spend about 4 years taking care of his parents. And his mother finally passed away, and the father went to live with a brother. And Michael came back to Texas, and he said when he got off the airplane in Austin, he looked around and just cried.
Oh, how sweet.
Because he was so glad to be back in Texas.
Oh.
And I've traveled all over the place, all over the world doing seminars, and I'm always thrilled to get back to Texas. It is my favorite place on earth. And Austin, that's my favorite place in Texas. But Texas is just a different place. The people are different here, and I love Texas. Mary and I just went to Eeyore's birthday in Austin. And Eeyore is the depressed donkey from Winnie the Pooh. And only in Austin would they celebrate his birthday every year. And the party was absolutely insane.
And Deborah was there.
Deborah danced at the drum circle. Jerry, her husband, was there drumming. He is our producer tonight. And it was only in Texas. I know this is unique to Austin, but of all the places I've been, I like Texas the most. And it's not that I dislike other places. It's just that it may be that Texas is still the one place in the country that's closest to the Old West. And that sounds like I'm disparaging Arizona, Nevada, and because I haven't been there, so I can't speak to them very much. But I do like Texas.
I think that's accurate. Hey, let's organize you coming down on some Saturday within the next month or two and doing a lecture. And we're going to ask that people donate, $25 bucks. Can we do that?
I can do that. I will be down in another week. A friend of mine is graduating from a paralegal course, and he's going to have a party, and I'm going to come down, have some business in San Marcos. So next week I should be down not this coming weekend, but the next weekend I should be back down there. And I would be glad to do a presentation at Brave New Books. I was supposed to do it last time I was there, and I didn't realize it started at 2 p.m.
No,
so,
I'm going to do an all-day thing with you, like Saturday from 10 till 5, blah, 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 $20, $25 donation, take registrant, get it packed, give people
we can
to put it on.
We can certainly do that. I can do a presentation on due process. I would like to do that. Due process and grand juries and how to use the power that the pro se has. We are an incredibly powerful influence. For the most part, we don't know it. And I would very much like to do a presentation on that. I've been doing this show for a long time, and I've had time to work through these and go over the issues. And then I'm not one of these people that talk about what to do. I tend to go out and do what I talk about, sometimes a little more enthusiastically than I should. 3 dislocated ribs, 2 broken collarbones, a broken elbow, and a tooth knocked out. But I'm getting older and I'm not quite so exuberant. But in doing all of this, I have found out a lot of things that work well and a lot of things that don't work. And direct physical confrontation is one of the things that does not work well because it plays into their hands.
Right.
Coming in as the master of the servant, that works very well. Once you understand and can formulate the concept of master and servant, it changes everything. We have a call screener here, Scott, and he got it. He went into court and a traffic court and brought up the traffic issue, and the judge shouted him down. Well, he filed official oppression charges against the judge with the grand jury for shouting him down.
Perfect.
You are my public servant. It is your duty to determine the facts in accordance with the rules of evidence and apply those comes to you, the facts in the case. If you have some other agenda, if you have a personal opinion, you better leave that at the house. Because if you don't, the citizen is likely to sting you good. And those who've been listening to the program a long time know that I have a very clearly articulated, intended ultimate outcome. It is and always has been my purpose to place every judge in the country in a position such that when he steps up behind the bench and looks out across the bar at the gallery, I want him wondering which one of those scoundrels out there is sitting waiting for me to render a ruling he doesn't like so he can run down to a grand jury and try to get me indicted.
Perfect.
Now, I catch a lot of heat because I don't want anybody indicted. Right. But then again, I don't want them violating my law either. I didn't want my district judge to threaten to have me arrested because I required that he provide me access to one of my rights. I didn't want him to have his bailiff put his hand on my arm while his bailiff was prominently displaying a deadly weapon. But they did that. And having knowledge that a felony has been committed, if I fail to report that felony, I could be prosecuted.
Right.
So, hey, kill the messenger. And I do not want my district judge indicted. But if the grand jury finds probable cause, then I didn't make that bed. He did.
Right.
I didn't make the decision to commit the act. He did. And this is one of the things I tell bailiffs. It's quite frequent that I ask a bailiff to arrest a judge in a courtroom. I've done this a number of times, and not one time has the judge said a word while I'm trying to get the bailiff to arrest him.
Look,
because
I heard 2 things before.
The judge knows one word out of him, witness tampering, obstruction. So they sit there and be quiet. And the bailiff always refuses to arrest a judge. And I always tell him, well, Bubba, life is filled with little decisions. We all get to make some. Your turn. Are you going to perform your duty as prescribed by Article 2.13 Code of Criminal Procedure and arrest this judge in accordance with 1401, 1406 Texas Code of Criminal Procedure? Or are you going to shield this judge from prosecution in violation of 3805 Penal Code? Your call. They always refuse, but then they're subject to felony prosecution.
Let me throw in 2 things before we get to 10.
Say that again, Mary.
Let me throw in 2 things before we get to 10 p.m.
Okay.
I appreciate you. I just want to say that Bob Smiley is going to be at the Vaxxed movie screening tomorrow night with Regina, discussing about teaching people about hydrofluoric acid and fluoride. So he's out doing some public service tomorrow and can't make the show. And that also Regina is somewhat Facebook friends with Aaron Brockovich. And Aaron Brockovich thought the councilman's comments about there being porn-sounding music behind one of our videos was really disgusting and rude and whatnot. So Aaron Brockovich is posting about the scandal at the Dallas City Hall.
Wonderful. Well, that's the good part about the First Amendment. The city council member can post whatever he wants to, but he can also suffer the consequences. Right. Okay, 1 minute left. We have Bob Smiley on. Hello, Mr. Smiley.
How are you doing this evening?
I am doing well. We only have 1 minute, I'm afraid.
Well, this weekend's going to be a big event. We are going to try to end the drug war with jury nullification. We want people to vote their conscience. We want people to set people free from victimless crimes. Tell the government that these unconstitutional laws that are violating their rights, especially their Ninth Amendment rights, are not going to be tolerated, and we are going to send a message to the legislatures and the judicial branch, and we're going to tell them that no more are they going to have us bent over the barrel. It's time we take our freedoms back. So come on out, everybody. Facebook, BOB-SMILIE, message me. I'll get you information where we're going to meet, or go to FIJA.org. And contact Kirsten Tynan. She'll guide you to me. But let's go out there and end this drug war. The more warriors we have on the pavement.
Okay, hold on. We are out of time.